The bridge of the Erebus trembled under the assault of incoming fire. Captain Adira Kane gripped the armrests of her chair as the proximity alarms screamed through the ship. Around her, the crew scrambled to their stations, their faces pale under the harsh, flickering lights. "Report." Adira barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Unknown vessels just exited Slipstream," shouted Lieutenant Dax, his hands dancing over the holographic display. They're not broadcasting any identification. Their weapon signatures are unlike anything in the database." Adira glanced at the viewport. Beyond the reinforced glass, the void was alive with streaks of energy bolts and shifting shadows. The ships attacking them weren't just unidentifiable, they defied geometry, their forms shifting as if space itself bent to their will. "Shields at 30% and dropping fast," added Chief Engineer Lyra Yates, her voice strained. "We're not equipped for this kind of assault." Adira made a split-second decision. "Evasive maneuvers." "Dax, prep a distress signal." "Lyra, reroute everything to the engines and get us the hell out of here." But even as the Erebus veered hard to port, one of the alien ships surged forward, faster than anything Adira had ever seen. It fired a single, brilliant beam of light that tore through their aft shields, carving a molten gash along the hull. The ship lurched violently, throwing several crew members to the floor. "We're venting atmosphere on decks 7 through 9, Lyra reported. "I've sealed them off, but we've lost over 30 crew." Adira's jaw tightened. She could feel the weight of every life aboard pressing down on her. Then, just as suddenly as the attack began, the alien ships vanished. The silence that followed was almost as deafening as the chaos that preceded it. "What the hell just happened?" whispered Dax, his voice trembling. Before anyone could answer, the ship's AI, Isaac, spoke. "Captain, I've intercepted a transmission. It's not human." Adira nodded. "Play it." A harsh, guttural sound filled the room, followed by words that chilled her to the bone. "Reckoning has come. The stars remember what you did." The message ended, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Adira stood, her mind racing. This wasn't a random attack. It was a declaration of war, a war humanity didn't even know it had started. "Captain," Isaac said, breaking her thoughts. "Sensors are detecting anomalies in the nearby star systems. It's spreading." Adira turned to her crew, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "We need answers. Plot a course to the nearest anomaly. If the stars want vengeance, we're going to find out why." The crew obeyed, but as the Erebus accelerated toward its new destination, Adira couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading straight into a trap. The Erebus arrived at the coordinates of the anomaly, and the sight that greeted them was unlike anything they'd ever seen. The star at the center of the system was writhing, its surface boiling and twisting as if in agony. Surrounding it were fragments of shattered planets, their remains drifting in a ghostly orbit. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy readings," Dax reported. It's almost like the star is alive." Before Adira could respond, the ship's systems went haywire. Lights flickered, and Isaac's voice wavered. "External force is attempting to interface with our systems. Unable to block." The viewport darkened, replaced by a swirling mass of light and shadow. A voice echoed through the bridge, deep and resonant, carrying an unmistakable weight of anger. "You burned our worlds. Now, you will burn." Adira gritted her teeth. "Who are you? What do you want?" The voice didn't answer. Instead, the swirling mass outside coalesced into a single, massive entity. It resembled a star, but its surface was cracked and glowing with an inner fire. Tendrils of energy lashed out, striking the Erebus and sending the ship spinning. "Engines offline," Lyra shouted. "We're dead in the water." Adira's mind raced. They couldn't fight this thing, not with conventional weapons. But maybe they didn't have to. "Isaac, analyze that thing. Find any weaknesses, anything we can use." The AI's voice was strained. "Analysis incomplete. Entity appears to be a fusion of organic and stellar matter. However, its energy signature is unstable." "Unstable how?" Adira demanded. "A sufficient disruption could cause it to collapse," Isaac replied. "But the energy required would destroy us too," Adira finished. She turned to her crew. "We don't have a choice. Prepare to overload the reactor." "Captain, that's suicide," Dax said, his voice shaking. "And if we don't, this thing will destroy Earth," Adira shot back. "Get it done." As the crew worked, the entity's attacks intensified. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, and fires broke out on multiple decks. Adira stayed calm, her focus unshaken. Finally, Lyra looked up. "Reactor is primed, but we'll need to be in close proximity to trigger it." Adira nodded. "Dax, set a collision course." The Erebus hurtled toward the entity, its engines burning bright despite their damaged state. The crew braced for impact, but just as they reached the threshold, the entity shifted. Its form flickered, and its attack ceased. The voice returned, softer this time. "You do not understand. We were not always this." Before Adira could respond, the entity released a burst of energy, knocking the ship back and sending it hurtling through space. When they recovered, the entity was gone, and the star had returned to a semblance of normalcy. "What just happened?" Dax asked. Adira didn't answer. She stared at the viewport, her mind grappling with the implications. They had survived, but the entity's words lingered. What had humanity done to provoke such wrath? The crew's relief was short-lived. As they repaired the ship, Isaac intercepted another transmission. This one was from Earth. "Emergency broadcast. Multiple anomalies detected in the Sol system. Incoming vessels of unknown origin. All colonies and outposts are advised to evacuate." Adira's heart sank. They hadn't stopped the threat, they'd only delayed it. "Set course for Earth," she ordered. When they arrived, the site was apocalyptic. Earth's orbital defenses were in ruins, and massive alien constructs loomed over the planet, their surfaces bristling with weapons. The voice from before returned, echoing across all frequencies. "The stars will have their vengeance." Adira rallied her crew. "We're not giving up. Dax, coordinate with what's left of the fleet. Lyra, see if you can get those defenses back online. Isaac, find me a way to neutralize those constructs." The battle that followed was chaos. The human fleet, outnumbered and outgunned, fought with everything they had. Adira led the charge, her ship darting between the alien constructs and delivering precision strikes. But for every enemy they destroyed, two more took its place. As the situation grew dire, Isaac found a potential solution. The constructs are linked by a central nexus. If we destroy it, the rest may deactivate. "Where is it?" Adira asked. "At the heart of their fleet," Isaac replied. "But the energy field around it is impenetrable." Adira made a choice. "We'll disable the field from the inside. Lyra, prep a boarding party." The crew infiltrated the Nexus, fighting their way through corridors filled with shifting, otherworldly defenses. Adira led from the front, her resolve unshaken. They reached the core, a massive sphere pulsing with energy. Lyra worked quickly, planting charges while the rest of the team held off waves of enemies. Just as they were about to detonate, the voice returned, pleading. Stop. You do not understand what you are destroying. Adira hesitated. Explain. The voice revealed a horrifying truth: the constructs weren't weapons but prisons. The entities inside were once guardians of the galaxy, twisted into monstrosities by humanity's reckless experiments with stellar engineering. Adira faced an impossible choice: destroy the Nexus and risk unleashing the entities, or leave it intact and doom Earth. Adira made her decision. Detonate the charges. The explosion tore through the Nexus, and the constructs collapsed. Earth was saved, but the consequences were immediate. The entities, freed from their prisons, coalesced into a single, massive being. Its voice echoed through the cosmos. You have freed us, but at what cost? Adira returned to the Erebus, her crew battered but alive. The entity didn't attack; instead, it drifted toward the galactic core, its presence altering the fabric of spacetime. In the aftermath, humanity began to piece together the truth. The experiments that had led to this catastrophe were buried deep in classified archives. Adira confronted Earth's leaders, demanding accountability. We created our own enemies, she said. And we've unleashed something we can't control. The entity's parting words haunted her. We are not your destroyers. We are your reckoning. As the Erebus set out on its next mission, Adira knew their fight was far from over. The stars had screamed for vengeance, and humanity would have to answer for its sins. But for now, they had bought time to prepare, to understand, and, perhaps, to atone.